Open our ears, O Lord, to hear your word and know your voice. Speak to our hearts and strengthen our wills, that we may serve you today, now, and always. Amen. Please be seated. During this season, I feel like I should be paid by the word that I read out loud here in church. The gospel lessons are just that long, for weeks now. I promise they will get shorter as the season goes on. We are flying through Jesus' earthly ministry, leading us up to Palm Sunday and his triumphant entry into Jerusalem. And today we hear the story of Jesus' last miracle before his crucifixion. This story is only told in the Gospel of John, and what a doozy it is. Jesus has been healing people from hemorrhages, blindness, and leprosy, but all those seem like small potatoes when it comes to what he does for his friend Lazarus. For the final sign of his earthly ministry, he's about to do the Mac Daddy of all miracles. He's going to raise Lazarus from the dead. The town of Bethany, where they all live, is about 2 miles from Jerusalem, close enough for information to pass quickly between the two places, close enough for people to travel to see big events occur. Jesus visited there often and had some close friends there, Lazarus and his 2 sisters, Martha and Mary. They were not only his disciples, you see, but also his personal friends. It may seem odd to hear that Jesus, who is God incarnate, would have personal friends as well as disciples. But the Gospel of John here is going to some lengths to illustrate that Jesus was truly human as well as God. And being truly human meant having human relationships like friends. I don't know about you, but it humanizes Jesus for me to know that he had some people close to him. And it comforts me to realize that with all the demands of his very public ministry, he had a few people he could enjoy dinner with and maybe relax just a little bit. And for the first time, we have mention of the disciple Thomas. You might remember him best by his nickname, Doubting Thomas. Thomas is only mentioned in the other Gospels when all the disciples are listed by name, but he really gets lots of airtime in the Gospel of John. Based on our reading today, instead of calling him Doubting Thomas, I want to suggest another more appropriate name. How about let's calling him Courageous Thomas instead? Jesus, you see, is telling his disciples that they must go back to Judea. They are fearful for his safety and that know that there will be attempts on his life. There have already been attempts on his life. Apparently, they tried to stone Jesus. We never hear about it in any other Gospels, but right here, they mentioned, they've already tried to stone you, Jesus. But he is going back to see about his friend Lazarus no matter what. And Thomas, having spoken his opposition to Jesus' plan, gives in to Jesus' desires and boldly states to the disciples, "Let us all go, that we may die with him." A statement like that gives you a whole other viewpoint of Thomas, doesn't it? And his conviction as a follower of Jesus. Courageous Thomas indeed. But let me get back to Lazarus now. He's gravely ill. And his sisters send word to the village that Jesus is in. Come quick. We need you. The one you love so much is ill. I don't know about you, but if I received a message like that about someone I care deeply for, I'm going to drop everything, and run there as fast as I possibly can. But not Jesus. He doesn't seem to sweat this at all. He is in no hurry. Indeed, he waits for days to go and see Lazarus. We all know that he didn't have to travel to see Lazarus, to be by his bedside to heal him. Jesus had healed others just because someone had asked him to do so, and proximity was never the issue. But he obviously had other plans. Now ask yourself, have you ever been in a situation where folks around you were worried about something that you had insider information on? The kind of information that you couldn't share just yet. That you knew the fact that the situation would work out just fine, and there really was no need to worry. Well, that's a little bit like this situation is here. Jesus knows what's going to happen. He can't tell everybody yet, but he's not worried. Jesus does delay in arriving, and when he does, Lazarus has died and has been in his tomb for 4 whole days. Without embalming techniques, you see, you had to bury people quickly in tombs hollowed out in limestone rock cliffs. Then you'd cover the opening with a large rock. Jesus arrives, and he's deeply moved emotionally by the grief of Lazarus' sisters and all of his friends. Expressions of deep human emotion reveal the humanity of Christ. Just like other human beings, Jesus weeps at the grave of a loved one. In this delay to come see about Lazarus, I believe, is a lesson for us all. God's timing, especially his delays, may make us think that he is not answering our prayers, or that he is not answering them the way we want. We have the opportunity here to remember that Jesus will indeed meet our needs according to his perfect schedule and plan, not ours. But even with that said, I want you to know that Jesus did not delay in healing Lazarus out of some sense of showmanship to impress people. This, you see, was an essential display of his healing ministry and of the truth of the major belief of our Christian faith, that he not only can be raised from the dead, but that he has the power to raise us all. Above all else, the Gospel of John stresses that we have a God who cares for each and every one of us. He shows it in his weeping with the other mourners, and he shows it in his willingness to give his life for us on the cross. So Jesus does indeed raise Lazarus in this spectacular way and draws lots and lots of attention. For a moment, there are more believers than ever, and a momentum is building that will sweep Jesus into Jerusalem in the triumphant parade of Palm Sunday. But it also stirs his opponents to a new level of commitment to get rid of him. Jesus' power to draw followers is growing, and the religious leaders are plotting to get rid of him while they still can. And all that we will see, all of this during the course of Holy Week, all of it. The glory and the sinister ways of the religious leaders of the day. But I don't want to get into that just yet. Holy Week will unfold on its own beginning next Sunday. But I do want to leave us with this message today, though. God cares. God cares deeply for each and every one of us. And I want you to share your concerns and desires with God, just like Lazarus' sisters did. And I want you to have the same faith that they did, that God, in His time and in His way, will answer all of our prayers. Amen.